I gave up the chance to go to college and gave all the tuition money to Qing Jiaming for 4 years of college. He comfortably enjoyed the carefree time I had sacrificed to support him. Meanwhile, I kept struggling in the quagmire of life. When he graduated, his wedding to the campus belle became the talk of the city, and I died of overwork on a stormy night. When I opened my eyes again, I was back at 18. Qing Jiaming held me tightly and vowed, "Qing, wait for me, I'll come back and marry you after graduation." A train roared past my ears. I opened my eyes, and Qing Jiaming was holding me in his arms. He said, "Qing, don't worry, I will never let you down. Once I graduate and find a job, we'll get married." I rubbed my eyes and realized this was not a dream. All the pain from my past life came flooding into my mind. I pushed him away with all my strength. He lost his balance and fell to the ground, but he was still clutching the money I had given him. A stunned look crossed his face. "Qing, what's wrong with you?" I walked over to him, crouched down, and without hesitation, snatched the money back. "Qing Jiaming, I've changed my mind." His lips trembled. "What do you mean?" I stood up and brushed the dust off me. "I'm keeping this money to put myself through college." Hearing this, he panicked, his eyes widening in disbelief. "What about me?" Then he grabbed me anxiously. Qing, didn't we agree? Give the money to me. I'm a man. If I go to college, I'll find a job easily. You're a girl. High school is enough. Once I graduate, we'll get married. In my past life, that was exactly what happened. Qing Jiaming and I grew up together. Our parents arranged a childhood engagement for us. Both our families were poor, and my parents had always been against my schooling, so after we both got into college I worked a summer job at a factory and earned my own tuition. But the day before school started, Qing Jiaming came to me and said he had no money for school. His plea softened my heart. I gave him all the money, and in doing so, threw away my own future. "This time, I won't do that again." I turned to leave, but he grabbed my clothes. His voice trembled slightly. Qing, please help me." I glanced at him, more determined than ever. "Qing Jiaming, your future shouldn't be built on stepping over me. The ones who should be responsible for you aren't me, but your parents and yourself. But you're my fiancé. Didn't I say I'd marry you as soon as I graduate? Why are you doing this? A girl like you doesn't need to study so much." My face darkened, and I pulled my hand away from his. "It's the 21st century now. Child betrothals have no legal standing. I'll go back and tell our parents that we're breaking off the engagement, but whether they agree or not, this betrothal won't count." His face turned cold. After a long moment, once I had walked far away, I heard him roar behind me, "Liang Qing, you'd better not regret this." I went home. In the yard, my mother was doing laundry. She looked up when she saw me come back, then steadied her back with her hand as she stood up and called me over. "Where have you been fooling around again? Gone all afternoon. Come here and wash these clothes." I glanced into the basin and saw that it was full of my younger brother Liang Zijin's clothes. Let Liang Zijin wash his own clothes. Having said that, I stopped looking at her and went straight back to my room. She exploded like a lit firecracker, yelling at me from outside the door, "You ungrateful wretch, good for nothing. What's the point of raising you? I'd have been better off giving birth to a piece of roasted pork than you. I should have thrown you in the water back then." She hurled every vile insult she could think of, but I felt nothing anymore, because all of this was far too routine. Too, my father died in a car accident 2 years ago, and my mother took the compensation money and chose to settle. She said, "Your brother is still young. I'm saving this money for him." So after I got my university acceptance letter, she told me straight up, "Don't go. Your father is gone, and I'm struggling to raise the two of you on my own. You're 18 now. It's time you helped share the burden." So that year, under that double pressure, I chose to give up on university. Then I started working odd jobs here and there each month. Part of my wages went to Qing Jiaming for his living expenses, part was sent home to her and Liang Zijin, and I kept only a small portion for myself to live on. I thought this would only last 4 years. As soon as Qing Jiaming graduated, we would get married, but instead, the news I got was that he had broken off our engagement and was marrying another woman, working 3 jobs a day, chronically malnourished. I died from overwork on the roadside. No one is heartbroken, no one cares. I sewed the tuition I earned from odd jobs into my pants and slept in them. Just one more day, just get through this night, then I can leave them behind forever. My life is finally restarting. At 4 in the morning, it was still dark outside. I got up in the darkness. In my worn-out backpack, aside from the admission letter, there was nothing else. Carrying the bag and leaving behind a signed letter breaking off the engagement, I slipped away quietly. It was not until I boarded the train heading to the city where my university was located that my anxious heart finally settled down. Standing at the University Gate. For the first time, I felt the reality of being reborn. Qingnan University is not unfamiliar to me, it's just that in my previous life, I came here only to be closer to Qingjiaming, working a part-time job serving meals in the cafeteria. I still remember that scene. Holding a ladle, I excitedly greeted him, wanting to share the good news of landing this part-time job, but he immediately lowered his head, pretending not to know me. His roommate saw us, so he had no choice but to tell others I was a poor relative of his looking for a room, not someone he knew well. Later, he found me and, frowning, told me to quit the job. He said, "Liang Qingqing, don't you realize how much you're embarrassing me?" Back then, I just hung my head and listened to his complaints. I didn't even dare let a single tear fall until after he had left. I thought that with enough patience and sacrifice, I would eventually be rewarded. How stupid I was. Liang Qingqing, in this world, no one is reliable except yourself. After registering and paying the tuition, I followed the directions to the dormitory. As luck would have it, I ran right into Qingjiaming on my way downstairs. When he saw me, his face darkened. I intended to pretend I didn't know him, but as we passed by, he grabbed my wrist. His eyes were filled with resentment. "Liang Qingqing, did you think I couldn't go to school without you?" The corner of my mouth twitched as I pried his hand off. "So, since you have the money to go to school, why did you have to target my money in the first place?" His face flushed crimson. "If it weren't for you, would my parents have had to travel dozens of miles at night just to borrow money?" After speaking, he stepped closer to me. "Liang Qingqing, you'll regret this. Do you think you're any different just because you've studied? You're a woman. Even if you graduate, you won't find a good job. In the end, you'll still have to get married. When that day comes, let's see who else will want you if not me. You want to turn a crow into a phoenix. Dream on." 3. I slapped him right across the face. He was stunned. It took him a long while to stammer out, "Why you hit me? You're exactly the one I hit." "Qingjiaming, let's get this straight right now. Don't ever bother me again. Let's act as if we've never known each other. Otherwise, I have plenty of ways to make your life difficult." Before he could react, I had already walked away. I found the dorm room, and someone had already arrived before me. My roommate Wenwen was there, with her parents, one wiping her desk, the other making her bed. She leaned against the doorframe and complained, "The dorm conditions are really terrible." Her mother comforted her, "Sweetheart, just hang in there. Anyway, our home isn't far from the school. I'll have your dad pick you up on weekends." This scene honestly stunned my eyes. I've never had moments like these in my life. My parents favor sons over daughters. Their eyes are only on my younger brother. When she turned, her eyes met mine. She smiled and reached out her hand to me in a friendly way. "Hello there, new roommate." In a daze, I took her hand. My life really seems to be starting to change. On the first day of school, I ran for class committee. In the end, I was successfully elected. I didn't dare to slack off. I grabbed a seat in the front row for every class and took notes carefully, because I knew this opportunity was truly hard one for me. After class, I went to the cafeteria and easily found the part-time job I used to have, only this time it was for myself. With this part-time job, my living expenses were covered, but that only covered living expenses. Tuition was still a problem. Wenwen noticed my embarrassment and came to me one day, asking if I would be interested in tutoring. 30 yuan an hour. It was for her cousin, a fourth grader in elementary school, for lessons a week. I hugged her in delight and thanked her for her help. In my previous life, I worked on an assembly line in a factory, earning 6 yuan an hour. I worked so hard each day that my back ached. Yet I made only about 40 yuan a day. I felt a sudden pang of emotion, realizing how much knowledge could change things. I started working part-time in the cafeteria from Monday to Friday and tutoring on weekends. One afternoon, I was serving food to students in the cafeteria. I saw Qingjiaming approaching from a distance. He was queuing at my window. I was a bit surprised, because in the previous life, he had avoided me after learning I worked in the cafeteria. Why was he now coming over on his own initiative? Soon, it was his turn. He handed me his lunchbox and pointed at 2 vegetable dishes. I quickly scooped the dishes into his box and said, 2 yuan, but he didn't take it right away. There was still a line behind him, so I frowned. "Just swipe your card." He clutched the hem of his shirt, gathered his courage, and leaned in to whisper to me, "Qingqing, could you give me a little extra meat?" I glanced at him. "Which one do you want?" The tips of his ears turned bright red. He looked around, then said awkwardly, "Could I have it for free? My parents don't give me much living allowance." I put down the spoon I was about to serve meat with and said coldly, "Either swipe your card or step aside. There are people behind you." His eyes dimmed. Then he raised his hand and swiped his meal card. Before he walked away, the look he gave me was full of resentment. I rolled my eyes. In my previous life, he took my money while I nibbled on plain buns, and He feasted on fish and meat. He even used my money to chase after girls. He never felt a shred of sympathy for me, simply taking my sacrifices for granted. I don't understand. Was he just so used to my giving? Why, even after everything has come to this, hasn't he ever thought about earning his own money? Then ending up like this today is no more than he deserves. For a semester passed quickly amid a fulfilling and rich life, because I ranked in the top 5 of my grade at the end of the term. I received a scholarship. I also got the chance to change my major. Almost without hesitation, I chose computer science. Summer vacation had arrived, and I applied to stay on campus. I was cramming on computer science courses while also working a part-time job. On my way back to the dorm after work, Liang Zijin saw me and ran over excitedly. "Sis, you're finally back. Mom and I couldn't reach you at all." My gut told me that his showing up meant nothing good for me. Mom hurt her leg while working. The county hospital couldn't treat her, so they sent us to the provincial capital hospital. By the time he and I got to the hospital, besides my mom, my cousin aunt, whom I'd only met twice in my life, was also in the ward. If I remembered correctly, she had married a city man and later moved the whole family to the outskirts of the provincial capital in her hometown. She is considered to have married well, so she naturally carries some arrogance in front of us. When she saw Liang Zijin bringing me in, she glanced at me and said with displeasure, "Ching Ching, it's not that your aunt means to criticize you, but what's the use of getting into college? Aren't they teaching you how to respect your elders at school? Your mother is this sick, and you didn't even know." My mother shot me a glare and quickly chimed in, "That's right, they say a married daughter is like spilled water. But here I am with a daughter who isn't even married yet and already acts like this. I've raised an ungrateful child." "Ching Ching, to be honest, you have no sense of filial duty. You never think about your mother or your brother. Your family isn't well off. You shouldn't even be in college. Tuition is expensive, and it's a waste of time. Nowadays, college graduates don't get assigned a job like they used to. A girl like you reading so many books is useless. You've all been brainwashed by the news. You should find a job early, then get married, and support your brother through school. Your aunt is telling you this because she treats you like family. With your father gone, your family can only count on Zijin." "Ching Ching, it's not too late. Why not drop out? Zijin has one more year before the college entrance exam. How will your mother afford to put 2 kids through college on her own?" From the moment I walked in, before I could even say a word, they had already mapped out my entire future. I sat down quietly on the stool across from them. I looked at her and said, "Aunt, Xin is about to take her college entrance exam. Isn't she?" Xin is her daughter. I heard she didn't even get into high school at first, and her family had to pull strings and pay a high selective fee to get her into a rural township high school. If college is really as useless as you say, why did you go to all that trouble to get her through high school and into the entrance exam? She froze for a moment, looking a bit uncomfortable, but still craned her neck and argued, "Our family is different from yours. We're city people. The way we raise daughters in the city is different from you rural folks. Besides, we can afford it. Your family situation is special. You can't be so selfish. You need to think about your family." 5. What she said sounded perfectly reasonable. I curled my lip. "Sorry, but I didn't use a single penny from my family to attend this university. Besides, I can put myself through school. Why can't Liang Zijing do the same?" After saying that, I deliberately leaned closer to her. "Aunt, what you say and what you do are so contradictory. I'm the first college student in the family. As an elder, shouldn't you be happy for me? Or are you afraid that after I graduate and find a good job, I'll earn money and take away the sense of superiority you have over us?" Hearing this, her eyes widened. She snapped at me. So rude. She grabbed her bag and stormed off angrily. No matter how my mom shouted from behind, she didn't look back. After she was driven away by me, my mom glared and threw an empty bottle at me. "Liang Qingqing, how dare you speak to your elder like that? We don't have money to treat my leg anymore. Your aunt finally agreed to lend it to me, and now you've driven her away. Where am I supposed to find the money? Let me tell you, you have to figure out a way to pay for my hospitalization, treatment, and nutrition." So that's what she was after. I spread my hands. "I have no money." She sat up excitedly. "Don't think I don't know. Stop pretending. Jiaming told us everything about how you work part-time jobs and tutor at school. And what about that scholarship? You must have saved a few $1,000s this semester." "Liang Qingqing, don't forget, I'm your mother. This money is the least you could give me. Don't think that just because you've grown your wings I can't control you anymore. The family has so many expenses. What's wrong with you giving some money? If you don't give it to me today, I'll go to your school and make a scene. I'll say that you abandoned your mother after getting into college. You want to stay in college, don't you? with such bad character, I'll make sure the school expels you. I had long known she didn't love me, but hearing it so bluntly today still brought a pang of sadness. Suppressing the urge, I stood up. Wang Ying, coming to see you today is already the greatest mercy I can show. As for money, don't bother hoping. I won't give you a single cent. Since you keep calling me an ungrateful wretch all day long, I might as well really become one, otherwise, I'd be losing out. With that, I pointed at Liang Zijin, who had been standing silently to the side the whole time. If you dare cause trouble at my school and ruin my life, rest assured, your precious son will end up even worse than me. His life will go down with mine. I have nothing to lose, so stop bothering me from now on. Hearing me threaten her with Liang Zijin, the color drained from her face. She looked at me in disbelief. It took her a long while to finally stammer out a full sentence. Why you, how have you become like this? I don't have a daughter like you, I said with a bitter smile. Good, then it's best if you act like you don't have me as a daughter from now on. In my past life, she couldn't wait to marry me off to Qing Jeming for the bride price. After he broke off the engagement, her first reaction wasn't to feel sorry for me, but to scold me for lacking the skills to keep a man. The very next day, she went to find a matchmaker, trying to sell me off to an old bachelor in a neighboring village. Just because he promised to give her 30,000 as a bride price. After learning of my death, she wasn't sad, only regretful at losing a cash cow. I don't need or want a family like this. I stopped paying her any attention and turned to Liang Zijin. Liang Zijin, you know full well how many advantages you've gained by stepping on me since we were kids. Since your mother declared today that she has no daughter like me, from now on you're the only child of the Liang family. With that, I turned and left. 6. Liang Zijin panicked and grabbed my arm. Elder sis, I shook off his hand. Don't worry, your mother has money. When dad died in that car accident, the compensation was 200,000, without me taking any of it. It's more than enough for your schooling and even for you to get married. Later, Liang Zijin came to the school looking for me twice, but I avoided him and didn't show up. Soon, the school term began because I changed my major. I quit my part-time job at the cafeteria. Every day after class, I was either in the library or the study hall. Of course, my hard work paid off. I not only caught up with everyone else but also ranked at the top. In 2005, the internet was developing rapidly. I had to seize this opportunity. In my past life, I worked at a clothing wholesale market. There was a girl who came every weekend to buy clothes in bulk and sell them online. A month before she passed away, I happened to catch her interview on TV. She had transformed herself into the owner of a clothing company. So, in my sophomore year, I used my professional knowledge to create a website and started selling clothes. Then, on weekends, I would take several buses alone to the clothing wholesale market and used the money I had saved to buy my first batch of inventory. There wasn't much competition at the time, so my website quickly gained attention and orders started coming in. As a result, during my spare time, I was either at the wholesale market or packing and shipping orders. After about 6 months, I made my first pot of gold. After deducting costs, my net profit was around 100,000 yuan. With that money and the order volume from those 6 months, I approached a clothing factory and proposed a collaboration. Soon, the manager received me, listened to my plans and proposal, and agreed to give me a try. Because I worked directly with the original manufacturer, the costs were significantly lower. With order volumes continuously increasing, I made nearly $1 million in just half a year. Staring at the balance in my bank account, I rubbed my eyes several times. Turns out, I really can live this well on my own. In the summer before my junior year of college, I used 600,000 to buy 2 apartments in the city where I went to university because I knew that within a year, housing prices would rise quickly. One apartment was near the school, the other in the city center. Even if something unexpected happened later, I would still have at least 2 properties that were sure to appreciate in value. As a fallback, by the end of my junior year, everyone was anxiously looking for internships, but my online store kept growing. A company approached me, wanting to buy my online store for 30 million. 30 million was no small sum for me, so after a week of consideration, I agreed because while running the store, I had been updating a blog. Over those 2 years, the blog slowly gained some followers. Relying on that, starting a new store shouldn't be too difficult. Coincidentally, I had originally opened the store just to make money. Now that I had it, I also discovered the joy of working with clothing along the way. Take this opportunity to do what you love and start your own fashion brand. On the day the contract was signed, 30 million arrived in my account. Now, seeing the balance in my account no longer surprises me as it once did. I spent 2 days thinking carefully in my dormitory and made a plan for the future to start my own fashion brand, it would be best to learn some professional knowledge about fashion, so I decided to pursue a master's degree in Milan over the weekend. I found a study abroad agency and explained what I wanted with 1 year to prepare. I believe that by this time next year, I'll be standing on a campus in Milan, doing things I never dared to imagine before. 7 On the weekend, I was about to head to my IELTS class. Just as I reached the school gate, I saw Jimmy holding a bouquet of flowers and handing it to a girl across from him. Taking a closer look, I realized the girl was Lin Qian, the woman he had struggled to marry in his previous life. Lin Qian was a local only child. Rumor had it that her father ran a small factory, so the family was quite well off. Back then, Jimmy managing to win her over was considered a leap across social classes. I originally thought the plot would follow the previous life's trajectory. Lin Qian would accept him, and they would live happily ever after. But the next second, Lin Qian took the flowers and threw them to the ground. Her face was clearly filled with anger. Jimmy, I put up with you for a long time. Today is my birthday, and all you can offer me is a lousy bunch of flowers. Jimmy lowered his head awkwardly and explained, Qian, I'm a bit tight on money lately, but don't worry, in the future, I'll buy you whatever you want. Lin Qian rolled her eyes. Later, it's always later with you. Last week, I even had to pay for the movie tickets. On Yaya's birthday, her boyfriend gave her a designer bag. How did I end up with such a useless boyfriend? How am I supposed to compete with her? Her voice was so loud that it had already drawn a crowd of classmates gathered around to watch the drama. Jimmy clenched his fists in embarrassment and tried to soothe her in a low voice. Qian, please try to understand. My parents are farmers back home and don't have much money, but trust me, once I graduate, I'll find a good job, then I'll buy you anything you want. Lin Qian pushed his hand away. I don't care, I'm giving you 1 week to buy me a designer bag, otherwise, we're done. With that, she turned and strode out on her high heels without a second thought, leaving Jimmy standing there alone, his face pale. In my previous life, because of my support, he had never really worried about money, nor had he ever appreciated my hard work, but now, he finally understood that his parents worked hard to earn their money. After watching the scene, I slung my bag over my shoulder and headed straight for the door. Just as I was about to leave, he turned his head and saw me. Our eyes met, and he awkwardly waved at me. Heading out. After speaking, he noticed the IELTS textbook in my arms. He looked up in surprise. What are you studying IELTS for? I didn't want to get entangled with him, so I casually said, just bored, studying it for fun. He nodded as if half understanding, then looked me over. You seem to be doing really well. Indeed, everything I had on me today was probably worth over 10,000, even if he didn't know brands. He could tell from the quality that it wasn't cheap. I raised an eyebrow. Non-committal. He walked over with a slightly fawning expression. I heard people say you've been doing some online business and made a bit of money. Plus, you get scholarships every year, so do you think you could lend me some? I'm really in need of money right now. Not too much, just 20,000. I'll pay you back as soon as I can. I looked at him like he was an idiot. Jimmy, does it say sucker on my face? He scratched his hair awkwardly. No, that's not what I meant. You know, graduation is coming up, and I'm trying to find an internship everywhere, but there are too many college students and too few jobs. Lin Qian has connections, and if I want to stay here, I have to rely on her. I can't afford to make her angry. Don't worry, I will definitely pay you back. You've never been in a relationship all these years. I know you still haven't gotten over me. I promise you, after I marry Lin Qian and get her family's money, I'll come back and marry you. Okay. 8 As if hearing a ghost story, I was so startled I jumped 2 meters away from him. Then he pointed at me and shouted, who do you think you are? You expect me to wait around for you to come back and marry me? You gold-digging country boy, stay away from me. Even if every other man on earth died, I would never be with you. When he heard me cursing him like that, his face turned ashen as he stood there frozen. After a long moment of shock, he pointed at me and spat. Liang don't think I don't know where your money really comes from. Men, you say you made it from your shop. Maybe others believe that, but you think I will. Let me tell you, I wouldn't want a woman like you anyway, and just wait. I'm going back to tell your mother all the dirty stuff you did at school, and I'll make sure the whole village hears about it too. Let's see how she deals with you then. With that, he turned and left. I didn't have time to keep bickering with him either, so I went out, hailed a taxi, and headed to my test prep class with a clear goal in mind. The days passed quickly. I passed the IELTS exam on the first try, meeting the study abroad requirements, after preparing all the necessary documents. I finally got what I had dreamed of, the offer from my dream school. Only the counselor and my dorm mates knew about my plan to study abroad. When they found out I got the offer, everyone egged me on to treat them to a meal. I agreed without hesitation. As we were getting ready to head out, the class monitor ran over with a strange look on his face and said, "Ching Ching, the counselor wants you to come to the office." When I got to the office, I saw my mother and Ching Jiaming standing inside. My heart sank seeing me, my mother, with a cold expression, cursed under her breath and walked toward me. She swung her hand, but I dodged to the side, and her slap hit nothing but air. "Liang Qingqing, you've gotten bold. I'm putting you through college so you can latch on to some old man." I was stunned for a moment, then saw Ching Jiaming looking somewhat guilty behind me, and suddenly understood everything. I stepped forward, stared at him, and asked, "Ching Jiaming, which eye of yours saw me latching onto a rich man?" He didn't dare meet my gaze, but still retorted stubbornly, "Isn't that the case? Otherwise, where would you get so much money? And I've seen you several times heading to that upscale neighborhood near the school." "Liang Qingqing, don't say I didn't warn you. What you're doing is a disgrace to us college students." I looked at him coldly. "So in your eyes, if I have money, it must have come through improper means. Of course, even as a guy, I can't make much money, so how could you, a woman, Liang Qingqing, you're such a disappointment." I turned to my mother and asked, "Do you think the same way he does?" She glared at me. "Enough with this nonsense. No wonder you haven't come home for years. Turns out you had places to be. Today, you tell me honestly, just how much money do you have?" I asked her back with a wry smile. "What does my money have to do with you? Your little brother didn't get into college, went out to work, and met a girl who wants a 200,000 bride price. Since you have money now, as his older sister, shouldn't you be the one to pay it?" The advisor behind me twitched at the corner of her mouth. "Parent of Liang Qingqing, right now everything is just speculation without evidence." 9. Teacher's son, sorry for making a spectacle, but please rest assured, I have never done any of the things they're talking about. I turned back to assure my advisor. Also, my mother claiming she put me through college is completely unfounded. For the past 4 years, I worked to pay for my own tuition and living expenses. She hasn't given me a single cent, so right now, she really has no standing to interrogate me here. The only 2 reasons she came here today are, first, she heard I have money and wants to get a clear picture of my finances, and second, to see how much she can squeeze out of me for my younger brother. When my mom heard me say that, she immediately started yelling, "You ungrateful child. I raised you all these years. If I have no credit, I at least have hard work. If you don't give me the money, I'll go make a scene at your university president's office. I'll call the police, I'll report you for corrupting public morals, and have you and that mistress of yours both arrested." By now, there was no point in hiding anymore. I stepped forward, and she immediately shut up. I looked around and slowly began, "It's true I have some money, but this money wasn't given to me by anyone. I earned it through my own work and abilities. Over the past few years, I opened an online clothing store. With some luck, I managed to save up a bit. Later, a company took an interest in my store and bought it out. Oh, and that neighborhood Ching Jiaming saw me enter. I bought that apartment myself." As the words fell, Ching Jiaming's face turned pale. "How is that possible?" My mother's expression changed instantly. I told you my daughter would never do something like that." "Jiaming, don't take this the wrong way, but are you just jealous of Qingqing, jealous that she, a girl, can make more money than you?" After some pushing and shoving, we stepped out of the office. I walked ahead, and Ching Jiaming ran over to block my way. "That Qingqing, I'm sorry." I shot him a cold glance. "Move aside," but he stood as firm as a mountain. He looked up with a pleading face and said, "Qingqing, please help me. Graduation is coming, and I still haven't found a job." Qian broke up with me. "My mom has a leg problem, and we can't afford treatment. You're so rich now. Can you lend me?" "No," I said firmly. "Ching Jiaming, I have no obligation to help you. We haven't been on the same path for a long time. Once we walk out of this school gate, we'll never see each other again, so don't expect a stranger to help you." He tried to say something else, but my mother pushed him aside, her face full of wrinkles. She smiled at me and said, "Qingqing, I know I wasn't always right in the past, but we're mother and daughter. Family is family after all. Blood is thicker than water, and even broken bones stay connected. Now that you're so capable, your mother can enjoy a good life thanks to you. Look, I've never even visited the house you bought. How about you give me the keys?" I rolled my eyes at her and shot back, "If you've never deposited money into a bank card, don't expect to withdraw any." Then I ignored them and quickly went downstairs. I knew they wouldn't let me off so easily, so, after taking care of the study abroad arrangements, I planned to rent out both apartments after going overseas. Before leaving, I also had my will notarized all my assets. If I have no descendants and should pass away, will unconditionally go to a stray animal rescue center. After graduation, I traveled around China by myself. After having my fill of fun and returning home, there were only 3 days left until the start of my postgraduate studies. 10. Dragging my luggage home, I saw 2 figures crouching by the door from a distance. Liang Zijin's voice came over. Mom, do you think Liang Qingqing will come back? It's been half a month, and we haven't seen hide nor hair of her. My mother's harsh voice rang out. The house is here. She's not going anywhere. Don't worry. I've checked. She's worth 10 million now. With that much money, it's only right she shares with us. When she comes back, let her buy you an apartment and give you a few million, then you'll have no trouble finding any wife you want. And when that happens, I'll move in with her and have her hire a nanny to take care of me. I'm going to enjoy the good life for the rest of my years. Ha 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 ha. The 2 of them laughed excitedly, lost in their fantasy. I picked up my suitcase, pressed the elevator button, and quietly went downstairs. After settling into a hotel, I went to the real estate agent and changed the listing for my apartment from rent to sale, giving the agent full authorization. After staying in the hotel for 3 days, I took the earliest flight to Italy. Before boarding, I answered a call from Liang Zijin. His urgent voice came through. Sis, you finally picked up. Where are you? I glanced at the plane outside. Just tell me what you want, sis. Well, before he could finish, my mother snatched the phone. Qingqing, we're at your doorstep. When are you coming back? Your brother needs money. You have to help him. He's your only brother. Who else will you rely on if something happens? I chuckled softly. Don't wait for me. I'm not coming back. From now on, you probably won't ever be able to find me. Don't bother trying to get a single cent from me. I'm telling you, I'd rather donate all my money than give it to you. Oh, and from now on, just pretend you never had a daughter. With that, I hung up the phone, then took out the SIM card and threw it in the trash. Later, I successfully completed graduate school in Milan. From my blog to Weibo, I kept updating my status, so I gained quite a lot of followers. After all the preparations were done, I started my own clothing brand. Then I opened stores both online and offline at the same time. Within a few years, my offline stores had spread to nearly every first and second tier city in China. It was 8 years later when I finally returned to the country. I went to cut the ribbon for a newly opened store. The store was in the busiest mall of a first tier city. I stepped out of the car with exquisite makeup, and the mall's security guard jogged over to hold the door for me. Our eyes met, and Qing Jiaming stood there in shock, looking at the security uniform he wore. My expression remained unchanged. I averted my gaze and followed the mall's general manager onto the elevator. I didn't give him another glance. After all, we had long gone our separate ways. By chance, Shan from the same village got my contact information through work. She told me that Qing Jiaming failed so many courses in college that he didn't get his degree. Later, he kept running into dead ends job hunting, working as a security guard, in sales, in insurance. But he was too arrogant and prideful to last long in any line of work. Before he knew it, he was nearly 30, with no money, no career, and no hope of finding a wife. As for my mother, 5 years ago she hurt her back while working and went to the hospital for treatment. My younger brother took that chance to transfer all her money to his girlfriend to open a shop. The shop failed, and the girlfriend ran off. The 2 of them argue at home every single day. My mother constantly complains to the neighbors. I should have treated Liang Qingqing better back then. Liang Zijin doesn't go to work either, just lazes around at home all day, living like a deadbeat. The 2 of them just scrape by, relying on my mother occasionally doing odd jobs for others. And at that moment, I was lying on a beach chair in the Maldives, reading all these messages that Shan had sent me. There was no emotional fluctuation at all. In my previous life, I collapsed and died by the roadside. No one mourned me, no one cared, no one regretted it. But in this life, because I have value, they regret it. But I no longer need any of this in my life. I will live better on my own. The end. That's the end of the first story. Don't go away. The upcoming stories are even more exciting. On the last day of my 80-year life, I lay on a warm cotton bed, feeling the final moments of life slip away. Her husband, no longer young either, knelt by the bed, gripping my hand tightly and wailing bitterly, Yuelian, wait for me. Don't leave. I forced my eyes open, wanting to see him one last time. Just as my consciousness was fading, I heard the thoughts he had hidden for 20 years. You ugly old woman, you should have died long ago. Your worthless life is finally over. Tomorrow I can bring Qingshua's ashes home. She is the only woman I have ever loved. So he hated me for stealing everything that rightfully belonged to Jiang Qingxue. All because of my status as an educated youth he hated me for being selfish and greedy, for trapping him with my schemes and forcing him to marry me. What I hate most is that I caused Jiang Qingxue to be beaten to death by her husband after marrying someone else, and her body was left in the wilderness for 3 days before being found. I went back to the day of the engagement facing all the excited relatives and friends in the room. I spoke directly. He and I just happened to run into each other a few times at the village entrance. The one in his heart is Jiang Qingxue, the educated youth from town. The words dropped like a boulder into a calm lake, and the crowd, all smiles just moments ago, fell instantly silent. Wan Tianhe, who had been sitting properly beside Li Tsuehua, suddenly stood up, his face dark with fury as he shouted at me, "Yuelian, have you lost your mind? What nonsense are you talking? In the last life, it was also a summer day like this. The Wang family brought Wan Tianhe and the matchmaker to propose," mother told Zhang Shayan to lead me to hide behind watching from behind the cloth curtain in the main room. I heard the matchmaker say we were a match made in heaven, a pair crafted by fate. My heart felt so sweet I secretly blushed. By then, I had already been enchanted by the tender trap he had so carefully laid, believing I had found true love, so I gave 3 soft coughs letting my mother know I was willing to accept the match later. When my father came home from work and heard about it, he specifically called Wan Tianhe into the small cottage and talked with him for a long time. I don't know what he said to my father, but in the end, my father agreed to the marriage. Soon after, the two families set a date, prepared a simple dowry, and I became a daughter-in-law of the Wan family for the next 60 years. I always thought I was the luckiest rural woman in the world. My husband was hardworking. Later, with my help, he got into college and became a cadre. We had a son and a daughter, and our family was harmonious. He never looked for other women outside. It wasn't until I fell seriously ill and was bedridden at the age of 80 that I felt my time was short. Wan Tianhe, his hair now completely white, knelt by my bed with tears and mucus streaming down his face, crying out, Yuelian, Yuelian, don't leave so soon, wait for me." I forced a smile, wanting to raise my hand to wipe away his tears and tell him that I was dying naturally of old age, so he shouldn't be too sad, but I could no longer speak. In my final moment, I strained to open my eyes wide for one last look at the husband who had been by my side all my life, and to let him know that I had lived a good life, so content that I could die right now without regret. But when the words came to my lips, they remained unspoken. The village doctor shook his head, and my consciousness slowly faded, leaving only the sound of my family's sobbing. Then the crying drifted away. I heard footsteps of people coming and going, and soon after, the aged voice of Wan Tianhe and the resentment he had buried deep in his heart for a full 60 years. Resentment that, thanks to my status as an educated youth, he was forced into a promise of lifelong commitment, preventing him from being with his true love, Jiang Qingxue. Resentment that my higher education meant the whole Wang family deferred to me, leaving him without a single relative in the entire household with whom he could speak his mind. But most of all, resentment that I lived too long, occupying his family's house for 60 years, enjoying his care and support, while his Jiang Qingxue had to. She married a miner who beat her, and after her death, she was casually wrapped in a tattered piece of cloth and discarded in the desolate mountains, where her body lay undiscovered for 3 days. At last, it's over for you. You really clung to life, dying only after I did. What a pity my Qingxue can't see this. Day, you took me away from Qingxue, and your father wouldn't allow me to have an affair, but the job and status you gained by marrying me should have belonged to Qingxue. Without you, I could have still gotten into university and become a cadre. It's only because I married a bookworm like you that I've been looked down upon everywhere, and lost Qingxue. Lin Yuelian, it's all your fault. You're better off dead. I'll throw your ashes into the latrine. You can go down there and apologize to Qingxue. After my death, my soul drifted and followed Wan Tianhe, watching him weep crocodile tears hypocritically in front of my coffin, then unceremoniously embezzle my passbook and salary book. Then he fully revealed his ferocious nature. Not only did he refuse to bury my ashes, but he also dug up Jiang Qingxue's bones, which had been hastily buried in a desolate mountain years ago, and placed them into a red-lacquered coffin, preparing to put it in a prime spot in the village cemetery, and even altered the name in the family genealogy. He issued an ultimatum to my children, saying that after his death he must be buried together with Jiang Qingxue. Only then did I understand why Wan Tianhe had hidden my ashes without a trace. It was to use them as leverage against my 2 children, whom he had brainwashed. Seeing the helpless expressions on my children's faces as they were bullied, a towering fury ignited in my heart. Late at night, a strange gust of wind knocked over the kerosene lamp in the kitchen, I watched coldly as Wang Tianhe struggled and screamed in the raging flames, my heart leaving behind nothing but boundless exhilaration. Just then, intermittent calls came from beside my ear. I whipped my head around, and the scene before me rapidly rewound. In a daze, I was no longer in the blaze, but standing behind the cloth curtain in the production team's office on the day the Wang family came to propose marriage. There was no time to think further. The matchmaker in the office had already said a great deal and was now waiting for my mother's response. My hand beneath the coarse cloth sleeve trembled violently as I pinched my palm hard, forcing myself to stay calm. Having been given this second chance at life, I wanted to see, without me as his stepping stone, just how far Wang Tianhe, a loafer and the son of a small team leader, could actually go in life. I stepped out from behind the cloth curtain, straightened my back, put on the air of an educated youth, and gave a proper nod to everyone in the room. Then I looked directly at Wang Tianhe, whose face had turned pale, and said coldly, "Comrade Wang, mind your words and actions. We've only run into each other a few times in the fields. We're not close enough for you to call me by my first name. Besides, did I say something wrong? Isn't the educated youth Jian Qingxue carrying around the token you gave her, that little stone engraved with Tian dash he flows eternal, and showing it off to everyone? She's been saying how well matched you two are, the son of the brigade captain, and that she'll soon move into a brick dash and tile house to be the young lady of the family." I glanced at the back door. Zhang Xiaoyan had already gone out, and I was sure that before long, the whole village would hear about Wang Tianhe and Jian Qingshue's affair. In my previous life, I only found out after I died that back then Wang Tianhe had also deceived Jian Qingxue, promising to marry her later, for the sake of the recruitment quota in my hands. That's why he abandoned Jian Qingxue, forcing her to marry a coal miner from outside the village. Clearly, he himself is greedy and cunning, yet in the end he blames all the faults on me, causing me to have no resting place even after death. Since that's the case, in this life I will expose his true face in public and make everyone in the village see clearly who the most despicable person really is. I looked at Li Tsuehua and said in pretend surprise, "It seems Entli doesn't know about this yet. I've heard the villagers say that Jiang Qingxue is fair and pretty, with a graceful figure. The Yuelian would like to first congratulate Entli on finding such a good daughter-in-law." Wang Tianhe glared at me with an ashen face and lashed out in rebuke. "Yuelian, you're an educated sent-down youth. How can you gossip like a shrew, spouting nonsense in front of the fellow villagers? You clearly, with me." Smack, the enamel cup in my mother's hand landed heavily on the table, cutting off Wang Tianhe's words. Realizing he had misspoken, he quickly shut his mouth, but his reproachful gaze remained fixed on me. I pretended not to notice. Li Tsuehua, as if waking from a dream, hurriedly tried to smooth things over with an apologetic smile. "What Yuelian said is right. I really don't know anything about this matter." She shot a glare at Wang Tianhe, her face full of anger. This brat probably heard that educated youths from the city are cultured and wanted to latch onto someone above his station, which led us to barge in so rudely, and I truly feel sorry for having disturbed Sister Chen and Miss Yuelian. Li Tsuehua spoke words of apology, but a hint of secret glee flickered across her face. She had originally worried that bringing in an educated daughter-in-law would seize control of the household. To her surprise, not only did I flatly refuse, but I also exposed the relationship between Wang Tianhe and another urban educated youth. Now this is perfect. Not only will our family not agree, but it's likely that no other girls in the brigade will take a liking to her son either. Li Tsuehua's words carried hidden implications, suggesting both openly and subtly that Wang Tianhe had acted on his own to rashly propose a marriage alliance. Wang Tianhe's expression turned even more unpleasant. He gave a deep bow to my silent mother, then pulled a delicate small cloth bag from his pocket and held it up before everyone, saying, "I don't know any Jian Qingxue at all. My sincere feelings for Miss Lin are proven by this cloth bag. I beg you, Auntie, to understand." Check. My mother glanced at the small cloth pouch, clearly made by my own hands, and asked, "Did you make it?" I nodded, then deliberately put on a look of both shame and anger and said, "I did make this pouch, but you clearly traded it for a notebook of mine during the group study session in the county last month. Now you're using it to fool people and prove your innocence. If I had known you were this kind of person, I would have rather given this pouch to the production teams donkey than to you." After saying that, I had Zhang Xiaoyan take out the notebook filled with formulas from the house and throw it on the ground. Putting on a full show of being deceived and furious, she pretended, insisting that at the time it was just a simple barter, unaware that he had ulterior motives. In the countryside, it was common for commune members to exchange small items with each other, things like handkerchiefs and notebooks. Last month, all the commune's accountants went to the county seat for training. I made a small cloth pouch that I really liked. But since I had feelings for him, I deliberately made it rather carelessly and handed it in, privately giving the most exquisite one to Wang Tianhe, and at the time, he casually gave me a notebook filled with formulas but no notes, even saying it was prepared especially for me. Now looking at those crooked scrawls, they are so ugly it's appalling. A complete waste of my heartfelt gesture. Wang Tianhe was so furious that he cursed me for being full of lies. My mother immediately put down her cup, turned to me, and said sharply, "You child, I always tell you to be honest and steady, to work hard and learn properly, but you just go ahead and accept and give anything to anyone. Sooner or later, he'll be fooled by some disreputable people." Then she turned to the Wang family and said, "I'm really sorry, my daughter studied in town, and her father and I spoiled her. She doesn't even understand the most basic manners," making that young man Wang misunderstood. "When her father comes back, we'll give her a proper lesson. As for the rest," Li Tsuehua, understanding the cue, ignored Wang Tianhe's dark expression. Smiling, she said a few polite words in response, then took her son's hand and left. As soon as they stepped out of the production team's office, I picked up the notebook from the ground and chased after them on the village path. Seeing Wang Tianhe's smug look, I hurled the notebook right into his face. "A tattered notebook and you dare to propose marriage? You should take a good look at yourself in the mirror and see what you're worth." My voice was loud enough. The passing commune members were startled at first, then broke into a murmur of gossip. My mother forced an awkward smile and apologized on my behalf, then asked the village doctor to check on Wang Tianhe's face before closing the courtyard gate. Once the gate was shut, I threw myself into my mother's arms. In my previous life, mother had seen me off to marriage, pressing all the cloth and food ration coupons she had saved into my hands. She also took out from her own dowry a sewing machine and a wristwatch. My mother, who had been kind and unpretentious her whole life, sobbed breathlessly in my father's arms. Over the next 5 years, I bore Wang Tianhe 3 children. After each birth, mother made him promise it would be the last, until, during the delivery of my 3rd child, I hemorrhaged severely and nearly lost my life. When I was delirious, my mother used her connections to find an elderly doctor at the county hospital, who gave her a contraceptive prescription. She personally watched as Wang Tianhe took the decoction made from those herbs. Later, my mother traveled to hospitals in several surrounding counties, searching for folk remedies to treat me. It wasn't until half a year later, when I had regained some strength, that she came to see me, her black hair now streaked with gray. I learned about the contraceptive pills after my death in my previous life. When Wang Tianhe spoke to my cremation urn, he told me that he and Jiang Qingshui had once agreed to have 6 children when they were young, but since Jiang Qingshui was dead, it was my duty to take her place and fulfill that promise. Who would have thought your shrew of a mother would dare to drug me? Bearing children is your responsibility. If you can't even endure this small hardship, you're a total waste, not even worth a single finger of Qingshui's. After my father went to work in town, my mother wrote me many letters. I wanted to visit her in the county seat many times, but Wang Tianhe always said I was a wife of the Wang family and couldn't leave the farm work and the children. By the time my children grew up and could help with the chores, mother had already been gone for years, having passed away from illness. The last time I saw her was right before she was wheeled into the operating room at the county hospital, her hair frosted with white, her eyes so swollen she could barely open them, sighing again and again. "Once I'm cured of this illness, I'll go see my Liener, so no one bullies her." Now, everything starts anew. Mother's black hair is still untouched by streaks of white, and her warm embrace is as reassuring as ever. She held me gently, her rough palm stroking my back as my tears soaked her collar, and said exactly what she had said in the previous life. "You're already a woman in your 20s, still burrowing into your mother's arms like a little girl. What will my Liener do when I'm gone?" I wanted to tell her that even without her mother by her side, I learned to take care of the whole family, to worry over my own children, that I remembered her example and her teachings, and became a capable rural woman, too. But even more, I wanted to tell her about all the hardships and rugged roads along the way, how my family was so far away in the county town, and the endless mistreatment I suffered in the Wang family, to tell her how I helped my husband secure a job and an urban household registration, only to discover at the very end that I had been deceived all along. After death, I don't even have a place to rest. Mother, I've been deceived my whole life, and even at death's door, I naively hoped for a next life. The commotion over the marriage proposal in the village spread quickly. Soon the whole brigade knew that the illegitimate son of the Wang family, a ne'er-do-well, had taken a ragged notebook and tried to woo the educated youth who worked as the female accountant, only to be fiercely driven away not long after. Rumors started that Wang Tianhe had long been carrying on with Jiang Qingxue, an educated youth from the city, and had even given her the family's heirloom stone protective charm. Now he wanted to court the Lin family too, trying to have a foot in both camps, like someone who's eaten nothing but bran and pickled vegetables suddenly craving meat buns after returning home. The Wang family shut the gate tight and stayed indoors. At night, they didn't even light the kerosene lamp in the yard, and the whole house went as quiet as if everyone had left. Zhang Xiaoyan, whom I secretly sent, brought back news that Wang Tianhe had stolen the brigade supply sergeant's uniform in the dead of night and crawled out through the back courtyard wall hole to go find Jiang Qingxue, who pounded her chest and swore she had never mentioned their relationship to any outsider, but the affair between them had long been rumored with vivid details. And Jiang Qingxue indeed had that small stone engraved with Tianhe flows eternal. She usually kept it tied to her waist in a coarse cloth pouch. Before, no one knew what it was, but now my people were spreading the word everywhere, and soon the entire commune would know what the Wang family's protective charm looked like. Wang Tianhe exploded with rage, refusing to believe Jiang Qingshue's explanation. They went from arguing to shoving, and finally tumbled into a tangled heap on the ground. Meanwhile, Zhang Xiaoyan, secretly watching from the side, blushed and eavesdropped by the wall for most of the night. Early the next morning, just as Zhang Xiaoyan finished reporting to me, the village projectionist delivered a sappy love letter from Wang Tianhe to me. He said to give him time to find out who had been spreading the rumors, prove his innocence, and then solemnly proposed to me. After Xiaoyan finished reading the letter, Qing Feng, who had been standing by, couldn't help but snicker. Having grown up with Xiaoyan and me in the village, and being as close as brothers, he always said the things I, as an educated youth, was too embarrassed to say directly. Even a county opera troupe actor trying to fool a fool wouldn't be this cheesy. This loafer, Wang Tianhe, has a face thicker than a city wall. I had Xiaoyan throw the letter and all the little trinkets Wang Tianhe had sent earlier into the stove to burn. Then I instructed Qing Feng to arrange for those who had helped spread my message to hide out at relatives' homes in a neighboring village for a few days, and not to return without my say-so. For days after that, Wang Tianhe couldn't track down the source of the rumors and didn't dare openly approach Jiang Qingxue. He fretted so much that sores broke out on his lips and dark circles formed under his eyes. I know exactly what he's worried about, but without my help, let's see how far he can get in this lifetime. Zhong Shanhe, the village party branch secretary's own nephew, was assigned to work at the supply and marketing cooperative 2 years ago as an outstanding graduate, highly regarded by his superiors. He was recently seconded to the county to help with enterprise reform. Wang Tianhe is afraid that Zhong Shanhe will return with achievements, making life even harder for him and his mother, who runs a small business in the village. So he has been scheming all along, trying to use me, an educated youth, as a stepping stone to jump out of this rural poverty trap. He has a face that looks honest. He spent half a year observing my preferences, then another year cultivating an image in the village of being honest, hardworking, and ambitious. Finally, he naturally approached me, catered to my interests, and step by step, tricked me into his trap. Unfortunately, his efforts fell short at the last moment when I suddenly disrupted his meticulously laid plan, catching him completely off guard. I heard that Zhong Shanhe's temporary transfer has been a great success, and he'll be returning to the village soon. I've decided to give him a grand gift to help him establish a foothold back home and gain some solid ground. The educated youth side in town has been quite lively lately. Jiang Qingxue has been entangled with Wang Tianhe, and now old Lu, a coal miner, has taken a liking to her and wants to take her home as his wife, home as his bride. Jiang Qingxue doesn't dare refuse outright. Since her current dorm and daily meals depend on old Lu's support, she can only secretly write to Wang Tianhe, begging him to come and rescue her. To Wang Tianhe, pleading with him to save her. At first, that loafer Wang wouldn't even give it a glance. He was so swamped tracking down rumors that he was at his wit's end. It was his mother who came up with the idea. Let him take the opportunity to get that stone amulet back. A few days ago, I had Zhang Xiaoyan arrange an unused storage room across from Jiang Qingshue's house, just for tonight's little drama. Preparations are all set. Watching Wang Tianhe, dressed in the platoon sergeant's uniform, being hurriedly pulled into the room by Jiang Qingxue, Qing Feng crept up to the window and eavesdropped for a quarter of an hour. When he came back, he was grinning from ear to ear. Just as you guessed, educated youth Jiang did light one of those scented candles. They barely exchanged a few harsh words before tumbling onto the Kong bed. They're all lovey-dovey whispering sweet nothings now. Sis, should we make our move? I shook my head. No rush. The real show is when they're naked and at their peak of passion. Half an hour later, a cry of fire cut through the silent night sky, waking the educated youths and villagers nearby. The men rushed out one after another to help put out the blaze. Someone noticed that it was Jiang Qingshua's house, and the young men fought the fire with even greater effort. As the fire gradually died down, two figures suddenly burst out, wrapped in wet bedsheets. In that instant, the villagers who had been fighting the fire all stopped in their tracks, staring in shock at the two people, drenched from head to toe, with barely a stitch of clothing on them. Then Jiang Qingxue let out a scream. In the distance, the sound of a bicycle bell rang out. It was the Wang family, who had discovered in the middle of the night that their son was missing. Qing Feng and I were hiding in the shadows. I rested my chin on my hand and said cheerfully, "Well, all the actors are here, the stage is set, now we're just waiting for the show to begin." Her gaze turned to Li Tsuehua, who had just gotten off her bicycle. Upon seeing the two people flustered and sprawled on the ground, her first reaction was to feign indifference, rushing over anxiously to see if her son was hurt. Wang Tian had gripped the wet bedsheet tightly, barely managing to avoid further embarrassment. Wang Zhangwo's face twisted with rage. He dashed forward and raised his calloused hand, landing a heavy slap on Wang Tian's face. Caught off guard, Wang Tianhe fell to the ground, pulling Jiang Qingxue, still clutching the bedsheet, down with him into the mud, making both of them even more disheveled. The gathered villagers buzzed with gossip. Some of the more unscrupulous characters even craned their necks, hoping for a glimpse beneath the bedsheet. Wang Zhangwo, unable to bear it any longer, pointed at the two and stammered, You two." Before managing only a few words, finally, he ordered several strong young men from the production brigade to load the two onto bicycles, while he and Li Tsuehua, along with the village accountant, brought up the rear. The Wang family left in a mighty procession. Only after the fire was completely extinguished did Qing Feng ride his bicycle to take me back to the Lin family home. That evening, Qing Feng went to deal with the traces we had left behind. Zhang Xiaoyan helped me spread out the bedding and asked, "Elder sister, are you feeling a little better?" I looked at Xiaoyan's delicate face and thought of my past life. In the 8th year after she accompanied me into the Wang family as a bride, I helped her get an introduction letter, intending to find her a good position at the supply and marketing cooperative, but she insisted on staying by my side, and stay she did. For 60 years after I died, she was the first to hint to my children that something was wrong with Wang Tianhe. She was also the only one who, upon learning that Wang Tianhe forbade my ashes from being interred, stubbornly insisted on taking me back to my hometown for burial. But by then, without me to restrain him, Wang Tianhe controlled everything I had accumulated in life. With just one phone call, he caused Xiaoyan to die in on the way back to her hometown. The body was discarded beside the railway tracks, becoming an unidentified female corpse. Qing Feng, however, had been favored by my brother years ago and joined the county transport team. By the time I died, he was already the manager of the county building materials company, living in the city with my brother and rarely returning to the village. Much better, I said softly, gently holding Xiaoyan's hand. With you here, I won't be sad. Xiaoyan's eyes curved into a smile as she tucked my hand back under the quilt. Xiaoyan will always stay with Sister Yuelian. Let's never cry again. Before dawn, the news spread throughout the commune that an educated urban youth and a village loafer had met secretly late at night, and in the heat of passion knocked over a candle, setting the house on fire. The sight of the two being dragged out half-naked was turned into a rhyme, sung during work. In the production team, the brigade secretary worked through the night writing a report to submit to the county, and Wang Zhangwo was criticized for poor family conduct, penalized half a year's work points and 1 month of being barred from attending brigade meetings. During that time, the Wang family had to sneak into the health station through the back door even for medical visits. The front gate remained shut, and the kerosene lamp in the yard dared not be lit. Within a month, the county's enterprise reform work team returned. What they brought back were not only good news but also the raw materials and funds urgently needed by the village-run enterprise. Delighted, the county immediately approved the expansion plan. Zhang Xiaoyan said Wang Zhangwo's penalty had ended, and the Wang family's front gate was finally opened again. The old couple of the Wang family cheerfully welcomed their nephew home. Arriving home before my father did were all sorts of fine goods allocated from the County Supply and Marketing Cooperative. The breeze leading the way said that my father had pre-ordered everything on his way back. All of them were items that Mom and I loved most. When the county leaders asked what rewards he wanted, my father rattled them off as if reciting a lesson. He listed everything without missing a single one. It wasn't long before my father came bursting through the door, pushing it open. His first words were, "Darling, Leonor, did you get everything?" Mom scolded him for being so unruly and for being picky about the county's rewards. Smiling, my father put his arm around Mom's shoulder and walked with her toward the main hall, explaining as they went, "This was a rare opportunity. You have no idea. Those small factories have warehouses full of good things, so many that our village can put to use. Leonor, come quick. Your father is going to tell you about the reform trip to the county seat." I looked at my father, whom I hadn't seen for decades, and fought back tears as I hurried to catch up with him. That evening, my father called me into the small room. On his way back from working in the county, he had already heard from the production team leader about what had happened in the village, and naturally, he also learned of Wang Tianhe and Jiang Qingshua's scandal. He took a letter from his pocket and placed it in front of me. This was given to me by the nephew of Director Zhong from the Supply and Marketing Cooperative. He helped out a lot during the trip. I think he's a decent man, capable of getting things done. Before I came back, I had intended to arrange a meeting between you two, but then I heard about all this trouble caused by his cousin, and now I'm a bit uncertain about what to do. Yulian, what do you think? I stared at the letter in front of me. The bold handwriting on the envelope read, Lin Yulian, receive in my previous life. Zhong Shanhe rarely concerned himself with family trifles and, due to work, was often stationed in the county town, so our paths did not cross often. Wang Tianhe once managed to become a cadre with my help. Zhong Shanhe, as his direct nephew, seemed naturally at odds with Wang Tianhe, and in the end, he was reported by a sycophant trying to curry favor with Wang Tianhe, then exiled to a mountain coal mine, where he worked as a storekeeper for the rest of his life. Li Tsuehua fell ill from that day onward and never recovered. Control over the household's affairs fell entirely into my hands. The old Wang couple gradually lost influence, and the real power in the Wang family naturally passed to Wang Tianhe. Now, having been reborn into this life, Wang Tianhe, without my support and lacking the means to contend with Li Tsuehua's family, has lost his edge. In a way, I have avenged Zhong Shanhe, paved the way for the future, but as for any further involvement with the Wang family, I truly have no interest. I sat beside my father, propping my cheek with one hand while picking up the letter with the other and stuffing it into the stove, pretending to complain with displeasure. Father knows all the messy dealings of the Wang family, yet still wants me to wade into that muddy water. Are you finding me an eyesore at home? My father took the burning letter and tossed it into a nearby iron bucket that had been prepared in advance. We watched quietly as the letter turned to ashes, and only then did he open his mouth and say, "If you like him, then marry him. What's the big deal? Father has paved the way for you. My Leonor won't suffer the slightest loss." In that instant, tears nearly welled up in my eyes. In my previous life, before the wedding, my father had dug up 2 bottles of sorghum wine buried for years in the backyard as my dowry, saying the exact same words as now. Words, "Daughter, marry without worry. Your father has paved the way for you. My Leonor will suffer no grievance." Before leaving the room, I asked my father what I should do if I had misjudged someone and ended up suffering. My father took a drag from his cigarette and said with a smile, "Suffering, that would be nothing more than a swindler's last sweet dream before death." Half a month later, Wang Tianhe and Jiang Qingshui got engaged. Wang Zhengwo personally stepped into our house to deliver the invitation. He looked much younger than I remembered, with a glint of cunning and shrewdness in his eyes. "Is Miss Lin avoiding my Tianhe because of that matter?" His tone was assertive, as I was pondering how to respond. His next sentence nearly made me tear the invitation to shreds on the spot. If I had known it would come to this, I should have let him go all out back then, so I wouldn't be unable to find a wife now. Article 3 of the Village Rules and Conventions, anyone who maliciously harms another person shall be fined 50. I couldn't help but retort, "Captain Wang is respected in this village. Don't encourage your son to break the law. He has already ruined you badly enough. I thought you'd want him dead. Want him dead, rather than letting him die a quick death. I'd rather watch him outsmart himself only to end up with nothing, living out the rest of his days in torment and regret." Now it was Wang Zhengwo's turn to be struck speechless. After a long pause, he nodded mechanically and said, "I understand." Then he turned and walked away. I wasn't sure what exactly he had understood, but not long after, I heard that the engagement between Wang Tianhe and Jiang Qingshui had run into trouble. The village doctor found that Jiang Qingshui was physically weak and suspected she had a history of miscarriage. Later, after some discreet investigation by the Wang family, they actually found a traveling healer who had prescribed abortion drugs for Jiang Qingxue a year earlier. Tianhe said that a year ago he didn't even know Jiang Qingxue, so the child definitely wasn't his. He said Jiang Qingxue is unclean. The first time they slept together, she deliberately chose a time right after her period had ended. What a schemer, no wonder he's still so frail after a whole year, I muttered to myself, then glanced at Wang Zhangwo, who stood calmly behind me. You've got some nerve too, telling me, an unmarried girl, about what goes on in your son's bedroom. Aren't you afraid I'll report you to the brigade office for corrupting public morals? Wang Zhangwo shrugged, looking indifferent, and changed the subject. You're right. Watching him get what's coming is more satisfying than killing him outright. Wang Tianhe had sent me quite a few love letters and gifts. After saving them up for a while, I returned them all at once. Wang Zhangwo somehow got wind of it, snatched the job from my little brother, found a crate, and paraded it through the streets. If anyone asks, just say it loud and clear, that good-for-nothing son of mine keeps bothering Accountant Lin, annoying him so much that he can't stand it anymore. So he had me take everything back and deal with it myself. The next day, when my dad came back from work, he told me that the party branch secretary had talked to Wang Zhangwo again, saying that Wang Tianhe had misconduct himself. He was already engaged but still harassing other girls. Team leader Wang was so scolded that he couldn't hold his head up, and he stormed off in anger. He's probably going home to beat Wang Tianhe, just as expected. The Wang family kept their doors closed for a few more days, and then word came that Wang Tianhe's wedding date had been moved up. It was pushed straight from next spring to right after the autumn harvest this year. Wang Tianhe, true to his incorrigible nature, had someone deliver a letter to me before the autumn harvest, saying, if I go to the county town to take the recruitment exam and pass, Yu Lian, can we start over? I didn't even read it. I simply took Zhang Xiaoyan to the county town garment factory for an internship, telling people we were going to learn advanced production techniques. As for what others thought, that was none of my business. I stayed there until the day before the recruitment exam, then returned to the village. The village party secretary told my father that the county had issued new quotas, and my brother was already on the recommended list. The good news will be announced tomorrow along with the recruitment list. Yu Lian can go and enjoy the excitement. I nodded obediently. When my father and I exchanged glances, the words waiting for the fun to unfold were written plainly in both our eyes. The next day, when the list was announced, I took Zhang Xiaoyan to the entrance of the brigade headquarters to watch the excitement. As soon as we arrived, we heard someone shouting, Wang Tianhe has been accepted into the county textile factory. The villagers buzzed with discussion, gathering around Wang Tianhe and Jiang Qingxue to offer their congratulations. Wang Tianhe's reputation in the village had been tarnished for so long, but today, he finally held his head high. Jiang Qingxue, however, showed no joy at becoming a worker's wife. She merely clutched her handkerchief, forcing a faint smile, her eyes constantly darting around as if searching for something. When I approached, both of them noticed me at the same time. The joy on Wang Tianhe's face was beyond words. The people around him also noticed me, and they naturally made way for us. The road. Wang Tianhe took a step toward me, then seemed to remember something and stopped in his tracks, as if waiting for me to come forward. Congratulations, I heard Zhang Xiaoyan beside me give a cold laugh. Qing Zimo had already squeezed his way to the bulletin board, just as I was about to walk over. Jiang Qing, Snow beat me to it and threw herself on her knees right in front of me. Accountant Lin, please have a heart, leave me a way to live. Everyone present was stunned by her kneeling, they even forgot to help her up. Accountant Lin, you're an educated youth, a city miss, but I'm a decent man's daughter 2. Everyone in the village knows that Tianhe and I, feelings, why must you interfere and make things worse? More and more people gathered around, whispering among themselves. Wang Tianhe quickly stepped forward, trying to pull Jiang Qingxue up as he scolded, what madness is this again? Shameless, get back home right now. Jiang Qingxue slithered like a loach, seemingly weak and fragile, yet impossible to drag away. You claim that my showing up here today is because I want to compete with you over Wang Tianhe. Where's your evidence? I looked at Jiang Qingxue, her face streaked with tears, and asked even though I already knew the answer. Then I watched as Jiang Qingxue frantically pulled a piece of paper from her bosom and held it aloft, shouting, I have a letter here from Tianhe to you, written in black and white, saying he wants to start over with you. Accountant Lin, dare you say that coming here today wasn't with that intention? Of course I dare. I lifted my chin slightly, smiling brightly. You just said the letter was from Wang Tianhe to me. I didn't reply a single word and had it returned to the Wang family unopened. I never expected you to intercept it and then turn around and slander me. Miss Jiang, You keep asking me to give you a way out, but this is our first meeting. As for your Tianhe, I have absolutely no connection with him, so what way out are you talking about? Wang Tianhe stared at me in disbelief. Jiang Qingxue was also choked by my words, and it took her a long time to stammer, you talk a fine game. But here you are, aren't you? I shot a look at Qin Zimo, who was waiting in the distance. He immediately understood and shouted, Accountant Lin, good news, new quotas from the county seat, your brother will be reporting there in a few days. Most villagers had heard about Lin Yuelian going to the county seat for her brother's studies, and they all thought I had come specifically to confirm the rumor, not, as Jiang Qingxue had claimed, to vie for affection. For a moment, everyone looked at Wang Tianhe and Jiang Qingxue with strange, uncomfortable expressions. I turned my gaze back to the two of them, watching their ever-changing expressions, and said unhurriedly, Wang Tianhe is already engaged. You'd better watch your mouth and your hands. If word of this reaches the brigade office, you'll be the one who suffers. There are also 2 elders from the Wang family. Although Miss Jiang comes from a humble background, she is still a respectable young woman, since you have already taken her innocence. Naturally, you must take responsibility. Only then will all those years of study be worthwhile. I deliberately emphasized the word innocence. The expressions in the room varied, some sneered, some mocked. When those looks fell upon the two of them, it was deeply satisfying to witness Wang Tianhe, who had been smug moments ago because he landed the job, was humiliated once again. He shook off Jiang Qingxue roughly, pointed at me, and stuttered you for a long time before storming off. With a flick of his sleeve, Jiang Qingxue scrambled to her feet and chased after him. When she caught up to the bicycle, she was kicked down again and could only run after him in a disheveled manner. After accepting everyone's compliments on the spot, I went home. Just as I reached the door, my younger brother announced that Wang Zhangwo was waiting in the yard for me. Wang Zhangwo had probably come straight from the fields, still wearing his mud-stained work clothes. The first thing he said to me was, I really thought you were going to start over with him. His tone carried a hint of aggrieved accusation, which baffled me. I neither understood why he thought I would forgive Wang Tianhe, nor why he felt aggrieved, not wanting to be blamed for no reason. I voiced my confusion directly. Upon hearing this, Wang Zhangwo was taken aback. I thought you already knew. I'm not like Tianhe, he muttered to himself. I nodded and spoke bluntly. Captain Wang really is different from Wang Tianhe, whether in family standing or the way he handles himself. Captain Wang is better than him. Given time, he will surely rise to an even higher level in the commune and production brigade. The reason you're interested in me is, first, because my status as an educated youth can help you gain advantages in the production team, and second, because I share your dislike for Wang Tianhe. But that doesn't mean I like you. Besides, from what I know, Captain Wang already has 2 lovers from other villages, and with Aunt Li's arrangements, he has also met several village girls for matchmaking. I'm not your only choice, am I? Wang Zhangwo was left speechless, and it was a moment before he finally replied, as long as you agree, I'll have his mother turn down all the other marriage proposals, and those dalliances will end immediately. No obstacle to you, empty. I shook my head, lifted my gaze to him, and said, I'd never force anyone to swear they'll be with me and only me for life. After all, most vows are just lip service, never heartfelt. I'm telling you this simply to make it clear that I would never fancy a man like you, and that you don't feel any true affection for me either, empty. I may be the most eligible girl in the village, but even without me, nothing would stop you from marrying someone else or carrying on with messing around with women. You just need someone who can help you. I'm the best choice, but if not me, anyone else will do. I had put it bluntly. Wang Zhangwo couldn't come up with any excuse, so he had to leave in a hurry. I told my family not to let anyone in casually from now on. Since I had a job at the factory, I had to be more careful in my dealings with others. Wang Tianhe was soon forced to marry Jiang Qingxue, because she had been living with the Wang family all along, helping with the chores. The so-called wedding procession was merely a few steps from the kitchen to the main room. There was no bride price or dowry, and few guests attended. The wedding was hasty and shabby. Even the red paper wedding characters pasted at the gate were only half. After all that effort, it was all blown away by the wind. Soon after, news came that Jiang Qingxue was in poor health and couldn't get pregnant, so 2 barefoot village girls were added to the Wang family's backyard. Wang Tianhe's little house was in turmoil all day long. Wang Tianhe had to prepare for work in the county town while dealing with the jealousy-fueled squabbles among the women at home, and he was visibly becoming haggard and exhausted. Wang Zhangwo came to find me a few more times, but my father politely declined each time. Gradually, he stopped visiting, and soon after, his own engagement was settled, the daughter of a clerk at the township government. With the wedding set for the following spring, Wang Jiangwo personally delivered the invitation, saying politely and sincerely, "What I did before was a moment of madness, I was only thinking about myself, and ended up offending Accountant Lin. I truly deserve to be punished." Accepting the invitation also served as a way to draw a line under the previous troubles. Before the Lunar New Year, my brother Lin Shuguang returned from the county seat just like in the previous life. This transfer of my brother's brought 5 years of good fortune to the village. The county leaders thought highly of him, and there was no shortage of opportunities for promotion and important posts in the previous life. To help Wang Tianhe get better job prospects and to keep me from being mistreated by my husband's family, my brother, though he declined a transfer to the city, took the village's able-bodied young men to work in the most grueling quarry, which inevitably left him with many ailments. Now, free of those concerns, my brother turned in his work with peace of mind, took on a new role as the village committee director, and remained in the village too. Family reunion. My life finally returned to calm. Everything with the Wang family felt like a nightmare. After waking up, I was still Lin Yuelian in my early 20s. Yuelian. In the early spring of the following year, my brother attended a meeting at the commune. When he came back, he couldn't wait to tell me that something major had happened regarding job assignments. Wang Tianhe had probably been driven to his wits' end by the few shrewish women in his family. He looked listless and unsteady on his feet. He barely managed to get through the medical exam and the interview, but during the skills test, he often began to lose focus midway, or his operations became so chaotic that the examiners turned grim-faced. On a whim, a county leader decided to personally assess this young man from the Wang family during the test. Not only did Wang Tianhe stammer, but he would forget even simple calculations halfway through. Nervous as well, he broke out in a cold sweat despite the cool spring weather. After standing before the county leaders for over an hour, he was completely drenched, as if pulled out of a river. This infuriated a county leader, who slammed the table, making him the only candidate in the village's history to pass the preliminary screening but still get eliminated. When he was escorted out, his unsteady steps caused him to trip over the office threshold. He immediately fainted and, upon waking up, developed a severe delusion, insisting that he had been admitted to a state-owned enterprise, that his wife was a girl from the Lin family, and that he would eventually become a workshop director. Upon hearing this, I had an ominous feeling. Sure enough, just a few days later, Wang Tianhe rushed maniacally to my door, demanding to see me. "This is wrong, Yu Lian, come out now, tell them, you are my wife, I am the newly appointed technician." I hid in the inner room and listened to Zhang Xiaoyan's description, realizing that Wang Tianhe had also been reborn, but the timing of his rebirth couldn't have been worse. He had already been blacklisted for losing his composure during the exam and would never be allowed to work in the factory in this life. Only after the Wang family rushed over did I appear before Wang Tianhe. He looked at me and suddenly burst into loud sobs. "Yu Lian, it's all wrong, everything is wrong." I did not respond. Wang Tianhe's mother, Li Tsuehua, dragged Jiang Qingxue along as they bowed and apologized to me, but I just stood quietly, watching the Wang family drag him onto the ox cart. Only after the ox cart was tied up did I look at them and say meaningfully, "Today the commune is coming for an inspection, and quite a few leaders are with them. If I hadn't been delayed for a while, the two of you would now be taken into the commune police station. Since you're ill, make sure to rest well at home. Earning a living is still something that should be left to the two elders in the team." Li Tsuehua agreed repeatedly. Not long after, word spread that Wang Tianhe had fallen ill in the middle of the night, tumbled into the village well, and broken his leg. He would be severely lame for the rest of his life and could never do heavy work again. Story 2. Richard stole my brother's girlfriend. My brother hugged my legs and wailed for 3 days and 3 nights. I was really sad. In order to get Richard to give my brother's girlfriend back, I took all my savings to him. "Well, could you please give Penny back to my brother? My brother really likes her." Richard asked with a half smile. "Why should I?" I held up my bag. "I've brought money. It's all for you. This isn't enough. I want 1 million. I got anxious. "But I don't have 1 million. Can you wait? I'll go ask my brother for it." He refused. "I'm only making the deal today. If you don't have enough money, there are other ways to pay off the debt." My eyes lit up. "What?" He leaned closer to me. "1 kiss from Nina counts as 100. Richard is my childhood friend. When I was a kid, my family lived in the countryside, and next door was Richard's grandmother's house. Mom and Dad said that Grandma was pitiful living alone, so we should take more care of her. Later, Grandma's daughter brought her son back, and the 3 of us grew up together. Everyone liked Richard, except my brother. My brother always thought that Richard had stolen me away from him, so he had hated Richard since we were little, and this hatred has lasted until now recently. My brother hated Richard even more, because his girlfriend broke up with him a few days ago. After thinking hard and observing everywhere, he finally found out that she was in close contact with Richard. The two often chatted in the middle of the night, sometimes for hours on end. My brother cried his heart out and hugged me, saying, "Richard is such a scheming man, I'll hate him for the rest of my life." He was so sad. I thought this couldn't go on, so I withdrew money from the bank, put it in my bag, and summoned up the courage to go to Richard. My brother said that Richard was a businessman, and everything he did was driven by profit. I had to pay a high enough price to make him stop flirting with Penny. I counted the money in the bag. There was a full 50,000 yuan. I had saved this money for 20 years, the New Year's money from my parents, the pocket money from my brother, and the red envelopes from Richard were all in it. I set out with all my belongings. I guarded my bag all the way and walked to the hotel. I took a deep breath and knocked on the door. Richard seemed to have just finished taking a bath. He was wearing a bath towel and wiping his dripping hair. A drop of water from his hair fell, tremblingly sliding down his collarbone, then across his chest muscles, abdominal muscles, lower abdomen, and then, I wanted to look more closely, but he ruffled my hair. "Nina, where were you looking?" I quickly denied it. "Nowhere." He held my hand. "Do you want to have a look?" Seeing that he was about to take off the towel, I quickly shook my head. No, I'm here to talk to you about something." Richard looked regretful. He held my hand and walked into the room. He picked me up and sat me on the sofa, then handed me the hair dryer. "Dry my hair first." I sat on his lap and straightened up to blow dry his hair. He put his arms around my waist, adjusting the angle to fit the hair dryer. I was quite proficient at blowing his hair, as I had done it many times. In the hum of the hair dryer, Richard asked, "Baby, why did you come to see me so late today?" His hair wasn't long, and it dried quickly on high power. I put down the hair dryer and got serious. "Why did you steal Penny away?" Richard tilted his head. Penny, she's my brother's girlfriend. She broke up with my brother a few days ago. My brother said it was all your fault. He had cried to me for 3 days and 3 nights, and every day when he got home, he would curse Richard. I was almost getting calluses from hearing it. I thought this couldn't continue. As a good sister, I had to do something for my brother. Richard nibbled on my earlobe, mumbling, "Baby, I just analyzed the pros and cons for Penny, so it was really his fault." I glared at him fiercely. "It's all your fault for stealing Penny." My ear was wet. He was so bad. I was talking to him about something important, and he was doing this. "What do you want to do, baby?" "Give Penny back to my brother." He tilted his head back, with a smile in his moist eyes. "Why should I?" I looked around and pointed at the bag beside me. "My bag." I opened the bag. "I brought money. It's all yours if you just give Penny back to my brother." He glanced at it. "How much money is there?" I said proudly. "There's 50,000. I've saved it since I was a kid." Richard pinched my face. "Nina is so great. You've actually saved 50,000. Before I could be happy, I heard his tone change. 50,000 isn't enough." I was stunned. "How much do you want?" Richard said with a smile. 1 million. I forgot that Richard was very rich. No wonder he didn't care about my 50,000. I hung my head. "I don't have 1 million, but my brother did. I'd go ask my brother to borrow it." I cheered up again and asked him eagerly, "Can you wait 2 days for me? I'll give it to you in 2 days. He refused. "I'm only making the deal today. After today, it'll be 5 million. 5 million was way too much. My brother might not even give it to me." I was like a wilted eggplant. Richard comforted me. "There are other ways to pay off the debt." I asked blankly. "What?" Richard bent down to my ear. "Nina, give yourself to me." "Ouch, it hurts." "Richard, be gentler." I glared at him with teary eyes. He lightened his movements, but still touched me. I groaned. "It hurts." He was helpless. "Silly girl, why did you run?" I sat on the bed with my knees bent. Richard knelt in front of me, applying ointment to my scraped knee. I had fallen hard just now because I was running too fast. How could he blame me for running? It was all because he was so strange. He actually said he wanted me. Of course I had to run. What if he sold me for money? Paying off debts with myself was terrifying. Many debtors would be lured out by creditors and then have their organs cut off and sold. It was too scary. I didn't want to pay him off with myself. The floor in the corridor had just been mopped by the cleaner and was slippery. I ran too fast and took a heavy fall. My knee was bruised. Richard heard the noise and followed me out. When I saw him, I couldn't stop crying. Richard, he was full of heartache and bent down to pick me up. How did you fall? I sobbed. It's all your fault for scaring me. He carried me back to the hotel bed and asked the waiter to bring medicine. The skin on my knee was broken, and it hurt so much. He dipped a cotton swab in iodine and disinfected my wound. Richard was clumsy, and it hurt me terribly. To prevent my skirt from touching the wound, I lifted it a little higher. I poked him. Hurry up. And put the ointment on. His eyes slowly moved up. The next second, he held my thigh, and his Adam's apple bobbed. Nina, don't move. I obediently waited for him to apply the ointment. When my knee was fully covered with iodine, I took a careful look. Well, it's done, okay. I gently pushed Richard. Let go of my leg. I want to go home. He played with the hem of my skirt with his fingertips and said in a hoarse voice, Nina, you haven't achieved your goal of coming to see me yet. Oh, right. He hadn't agreed to give Penny back to my brother yet. I was torn. But I really don't have 1 million. Then kiss me. 1 kiss counts as 100. I was even more annoyed. Only 100 for 1 kiss. I'd have to kiss you 10,000 times to get 1 million. My mouth will be kissed raw. Unless he raised the price, I wouldn't kiss him. Richard nodded in agreement and asked for my opinion. Then let's change the way. I looked at him expectantly. What? Let me kiss you once, and it counts as 1,000. His kiss lasts 10 minutes each time. 1,000 would mean 1,000 kisses. By the time we're done, my brother will be heartbroken. Seeming to sense my dissatisfaction, Richard came up with another plan. He moved his fingertips upward. I wasn't sure what he wanted to do. I clutched the bedsheet. Richard, his Adam's apple bobbed, and he gently tapped through the fabric. Baby, let me kiss you. And I'll send Penny back to your brother. Could he kiss me here? I still had a bit of sense left. No, only boyfriends can kiss here. He got closer to me. Baby, aren't I your boyfriend? I was dizzy. Huh, are you? He nodded. Yes, you promised Grandma that you'd be my wife, but that was just to make Grandma happy, baby. I took it seriously. He straightened things out for me. And if I'm your boyfriend, I won't steal Penny anymore. He had a point. I hesitated. I'll let you be my boyfriend. He smiled with satisfaction. So obedient. I was also satisfied. The problem is solved. I got up to go home. Richard held my leg and pulled me back. I was confused. What's wrong? He said in a low voice. Baby, you haven't let me kiss you yet. You can't break your promise. But Richard was insistent on me keeping my promise. I bit my lip, hesitating. Just 1 kiss. My phone started ringing. Beep, 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 beep. My phone was thrown to the head of the bed. I begged. The phone. Richard's breath was right next to me. He got the phone for me. My fingertips trembled as I tapped to answer. My brother's voice came from the other end of the phone. Nina, where are you? I couldn't tell my brother that I was at Richard's place. He hated Richard. If he knew, he'd definitely scold me. I'm cooking. Yes, I'm cooking. My brother didn't suspect anything. What kind of dish are you making this time? I should have given you a house without a kitchen so that you wouldn't waste food. Me. I'm not wasting food. My brother sneered. Fine, you're not wasting food, but you're wasting medical resources. You're the only one I've seen who sent herself to the hospital just by cooking. He changed his tone. If the dish turns out too strange, don't eat it. If you get food poisoning again, I won't hide it from Mom and Dad. I nodded randomly. Maybe I was too perfunctory. He got suspicious. Nina, why are you so quiet today? I'm busy. Fortunately, my brother just asked casually, then he got to the main point. Nina, can you help me make an appointment with Penny tomorrow? My brother and Penny had always had a good relationship. This sudden breakup hit him hard. I had a good relationship with Penny. At a time like this, I was the only link between them. Okay, I just agreed, then paused. My brother noticed something was wrong. Nina, what's wrong? I bumped my head. Be more careful. You're so clumsy at your age. He wanted to care more, but I cut off the conversation. Brother, I have to cook. The water in my kettle is boiling. I'll go pour it first. Nina, go ahead. Remember to make an appointment with Penny. The phone went busy. After making sure the call was hung up, I burst into tears. I'll cut off your nose. Richard took a long time to stop my tears. After I stopped crying, he asked if I wanted to stay or go home. I sniffed. I want to go home. He put a thin coat on me and tidied up my messy hair. Let's go. I'll take you home. In the car, I was really conflicted. My brother hated Richard so much recently. Would he be angry if he saw Richard sending me home? I lay on the car window, secretly looking at Richard on the other side, who knew he had been staring at me all the time. I got caught as soon as I peeked. He held my hand, and his palm was warm. Nina, you can look openly. I turned my head away. I didn't want to look at you. He simply hugged me tightly. His breath blew on my neck, making it itchy. I tried to pry his fingers off my waist, but I couldn't. I was a bit unhappy. His lips touched the artery on my neck. The neon lights of the Imperial City were left behind. There was no horn honking at night, only the humming of the car engine. I felt a bit hot, so I opened the window a crack. The strong wind rushed in, almost blowing my skull cap off. Richard's voice couldn't be blown away by the wind. He said, "Nina, I love you." I quickly closed the window and touched my cool scalp. "You don't love me?" he asked. "Why?" "My brother and Penny broke up. It was all because you broke them up. You don't love me. If you loved me, you wouldn't have broken them up." He must like Penny and seduced her into breaking up with my brother. My brother said Richard was bad. I said seriously, being a homewrecker is wrong. My brother and Penny had a good relationship. You can't be a homewrecker. He raised his lips and said with a smile, "Baby, they've broken up. It's not called being a homewrecker after a breakup." He was lying to me. If it's not called being a homewrecker, then what is it? I tried to wriggle out of his arms. "You have no morals. Don't hug me." He pulled me back and held me tightly. "I will hug." I puffed out my cheeks. "Then I won't talk to you anymore. No, I'll never see you again." When I got home, I'd never see him again. He was a moral homewrecker and still insisted on hugging me. He pinched my cheek. "I won't tease you anymore. Penny is my cousin. We're related by blood," I exclaimed. "Ah, how come I didn't know? I knew all of his relatives." "She's my cousin on my dad's side." "Oh, I see." Richard's parents got divorced, and he wasn't close to his dad, let alone his dad's relatives. I frowned. "If you didn't seduce her, then why did she break up with my brother?" I thought it was him who had lured Penny away. Although my brother was nice, I had to admit that Richard was taller, more handsome, and richer. If he had flirted with Penny, it couldn't be blamed on her lack of self-control. My brother was indeed a bit less competitive, but if it wasn't because of that, she only seemed to be close to Richard among her peers recently. My brother was dumped out of the blue. It happened right after their 5th anniversary, the day before they broke up. I was at home making cakes with Penny. She didn't know how to make cakes, but I did. I taught her all afternoon, and we made delicious cookies and a big bear-shaped cake together. She took the bear cake, and I shared the cookies. Richard also had some. Penny and I had planned to make new desserts in a couple of days, but who knew that the next day, news came that she had broken up with my brother. It would be too inappropriate to invite her home after the breakup. She'd definitely feel awkward. I kept asking my brother, "Why did you break up?" My brother didn't give a specific reason. He hugged me and cried, finally saying, "It's all Richard's fault. He persuaded Penny to break up with me. I'll hate him for the rest of my life." Only then did I know that their breakup was because of Richard, but I really liked Penny and wanted her to be my sister-in-law. I hung my head in disappointment. If it wasn't Richard's fault, then it meant that Penny really didn't like my brother anymore. "Tom didn't tell you the truth." I pricked up my ears. "What's the real situation?" Richard said with a smile. "Baby, getting information comes at a price." My brows knitted together. Richard had just taken my 50,000 yuan. I was penniless now. I hugged his neck. "I don't have any money left. Can I kiss you instead?" Richard didn't say yes or no. I closed my eyes and kissed him. He sighed softly. "Baby, you're so easy to deceive. I'll have to keep you tied to my belt from now on." I retorted. "I'm not easy to deceive. You've been tricked out of everything tonight and still say you're not." "Silly Nina." "I'm not silly." "Yes, you're clever Nina." I went home angrily and found that Richard had followed me. My brother bought me a house near the school. I usually lived here and went home on weekends. It was a 2-bedroom, 1 living room, 1 kitchen, and 1 bathroom apartment, more than enough for me to live alone. It was fine if he followed me in. There was a guest room for him to sleep in, but Richard squeezed into my bedroom and asked if I had any pajamas. I blurted out, "There are new clothes of my brother's in the next room." He ruffled my hair. "Baby, you're so cute." Wait, something wasn't right. Why did he just barge in like this? I hugged the quilt. Feeling confused, Richard came back soon. The big light in the room was turned off, and only the dim bedside lamp illuminated the night. For some inexplicable reason, he lay down beside me. I turned my head and saw his shadow stretched long by the light. Richard asked me, "Do you want to turn off the bedside lamp?" I shook my head. "No." Still afraid of the dark. "Yeah." He hugged me. "I'm here. Nina, you're not alone." I yawned. I was so sleepy. Time to sleep. I found a comfortable position in his arms, in the hazy light. His face wasn't very clear, overlapping with how he looked many years ago. I mumbled, "Then you have to stay with me all the time." He replied, "Richard will always be with Liang Ji." I dreamed of my childhood, even now, some rural areas still don't have good lighting at night, let alone over a decade ago. Over a decade ago, my family lived in a small village. After dark, there was only one bright light at the village entrance. The winding alleys were always pitch black. The village wasn't big, and everyone knew each other. An old lady at the east end of the village raised a fierce dog. It would bark loudly whenever someone passed by her door. At the west end of the village, there was a little yellow cat. On sunny days, it liked to lie on the eaves and bask in the sun. It was so lazy, stretching its neck long and leaping lightly onto high places. I'd look up and call out to little Huang, but it always ignored me. I wasn't discouraged and greeted it every day. One night, my brother had a fever and got sick. Mom and Dad rushed him to the hospital. I was the only one left at home. I heard little Huang meowing and secretly got out of bed, opened the door carefully, and followed it outside. The night world belonged to the brave little Huang and the brave Nina. We walked through the whole village, from one end to the other. Mom used to forbid me from going out too late, saying that the night would eat kids. Mom was lying. I walked through the alleys, watching the moon rise between two houses. The stars were very bright in summer, and green fireflies flitted among the grass and trees. I cupped my hands to catch one, but when I opened my palm, it was empty. I didn't catch the firefly, fortunately. When little Huang saw that I didn't keep up, it sat on a stone not far away and waited for me. I called its name, Little Huang, wait for me. But little Huang didn't wait. The fierce dog in the neighboring yard heard me. On that silent summer night, it barked furiously. I was too scared to move, and the barking got louder. Even worse, I heard the sound of the chain breaking. The dog was ramming at the door, and I started crying in fear. Before the wooden door was broken open by the dog, a hand grabbed mine, and I was dragged into a wild run. We ran into another house, and after closing the door, I was still in shock. Click, all the lights were turned on, and I instinctively squinted. In the brightly lit room, Richard ruffled my head. Nina, why were you outside so late at night? I threw myself into his arms, crying. Mom was right. I won't go out at night anymore. I sobbed that I wanted to go home, or Mom would find out that I'd gone out in the middle of the night. He sighed. There's a dog outside. We'll go back tomorrow. Silly Nina, you deserve to be scolded by Auntie. What if I hadn't shown up just now and you got bitten? Richard's aunt heard the noise and came downstairs. When she learned that I'd run out in the middle of the night, she called my mom to say I was safe and let Richard take me to bed. I took over his bed and curled up in his quilt. He found an old fairy tale book and told me stories to lull me to sleep. At the end of the fairy tale, Richard turned off the light and said softly, "Good night, Nina." But I woke up scared by the sudden darkness and started crying. Pulling at him, Richard had no choice but to turn on the bedside lamp and comfort me again. He said, "Nina, don't be afraid, I'm here." In the dream, he was a mini version of himself. When I woke up, he was the full-grown version. He said, "Nina, good morning." Although my brother had told me to remember to make an appointment with Penny yesterday, I forgot. When my brother asked me when he could see her, I stammered. Richard directly called Penny and made an appointment, which managed to fob off my brother. Since we were the ones who made the appointment, we had to go too. There was still quite a while before the appointed time. I rummaged through my wardrobe, playing Miracle Nina. Richard shamelessly joined the game. Fortunately, he didn't have a straight man's aesthetic and didn't come up with any eye-searing outfits. Finally, I picked a white cake skirt, a matching suspender top, and a light blue thin shirt as a coat. Then I pushed him out of the bedroom. Someone brought clothes for Richard. When I walked out after changing, he had also changed. His eyes lingered on my skirt. He looked away. Another short skirt. I tilted my head. Doesn't it look good? Richard's Adam's apple bobbed. It looks good, me. He was acting strange. He was such a pervert. Remembering what happened last night, my ears felt hot. When I wanted to change into a pair of pants, Richard held my hand. Let's go. I had to give up the idea. I should have changed before going out. I shouldn't have wasted more time just to save a little bit of time. Richard knew more about my brother and Penny than I did. Yesterday, we got sidetracked just as I started asking. Today, in order to get more information, the car had been parked in the underground parking lot for a long time. It was pitch black around. Only the car lights were on. This was wrong. How could I trade with my body? Moreover, before, he only kissed me, but now, although it was still about kissing, he wanted to. If this went on, things would get out of hand. Richard said in a hoarse voice. Cry. I sobbed softly. Richard, we're going to be late, he said. It's still early. I made an appointment with them for 6 o'clock. He had lied to me when we left, saying it was 5:30. Why did he set aside half an hour? Bad guy. He got up and hugged me. Baby, don't indulge me too much. I'll be insatiable. I bit my lip. It was you who told me to do it. He ordered me to sit still and not move. Since he asked, how could it be my fault? He pried my lips from my teeth. Just because I tell you to do something, you do it. Otherwise, he said it, so of course I thought he hoped I'd complete it. Richard's eyes were deep. He gently pressed the back of my head. Nina, my bad premonition came true. He was really getting more and more excessive. I slapped his hand away and shook my head vigorously. No, you can't. It was okay to be a bit pushy, but not too extreme. Richard pulled me back into his arms. I buried my face in his chest, feeling the vibration. He was laughing. Why was he laughing? He couldn't laugh at Nina. I peeked and got caught red-handed. He rubbed my head hard. Nina isn't that obedient after all. I frowned. I don't have to listen to everything. I won't do such excessive things. So, Richard cupped my face. Nina likes it when I kiss you, right? There was no one else in the car, but he still lowered his voice. He gently tapped my lips, and his fingertips slid down, like being kissed here, or here. I grabbed the doll on the car seat randomly. Baby, let me kiss you again. I closed my eyes. But he didn't move. I peeked secretly. He was looking at me with a smile. What are you doing? Richard blinked slowly. Baby, you haven't answered me. I was stunned. Did I really have to answer explicitly? Seeing the deeper smile in his eyes, I suddenly realized he was teasing me. I angrily pulled at the car door, only to find it was locked. Are you going to lock me in the car? He shamelessly nodded. Yeah, I'm going to lock you up. Nina's relatives and friends can't find you anywhere. They're running around in circles, calling me to ask if I've seen you. I pretend to be sad and say I can't find you. They're disappointed and comfort me, saying they'll find you. But no one knows that Nina is right here, crying and begging me to let her go. Me, I put on a straight face. Are you a pervert? Oh no, stuck in a room with a pervert. I was doomed. He curled his lips. Yeah, Nina has to figure out a way to make me let her go. I moved closer to him. Richard opened his arms, waiting for me to throw myself into them. I reached past him and pressed the car door switch. With a beep, I quickly ran out while he was still in shock. I stood outside the car, looking triumphant. I've already figured out a way. He also got out of the car and held my hand. Congratulations on Nina escaping. Reward Nina with a cup of milk tea. I cheered. I want milk tea with salted cheese foam. He hesitated. Is sweet and salty together really tasty? I didn't care. I want it. We arrived at the restaurant early. I took a couple of gulps of the milk tea. Then I snatched Richard's milk tea. The salted cheese foam was so sweet. I drank and drank. I took a sip from the left, then from the right, and then from the left again. Where was my milk tea? Richard snatched my milk tea away and tapped my head. Drink less. We're going to have dinner soon. I muttered. You're just like my mom. What if I really want to drink? Richard held the milk tea high. I won't give it to you. I widened my eyes. You're so childish. He smiled. As long as it works. I reached for it. But Richard was too tall. He was 188 meters, a full 20 centimeters taller than me. The higher he raised his hand, the less chance I had of getting it. I threw myself at him and grabbed his arm. Richard, I wanted to drink my milk tea. Before I could finish, he kissed me. My eyelashes fluttered, and I looked around nervously. It was my first time kissing in public, so nerve-wracking. Fortunately, our seats were in the corner, before the appointed time. The waiters wouldn't come over, no one would disturb us, and we wouldn't disturb others. Under my palm, his heartbeat was strong. One after another, Richard held me up. I instinctively closed my eyes. Time seemed to pass both quickly and slowly. I prayed that it would end quickly and that he would let me go soon. Yet, strangely, I also hoped that this moment could last. I responded to him cautiously. A soft chuckle escaped from Richard's throat, and then he held the back of my head even more firmly. My cheeks were burning from the kiss. Suddenly, Richard let me go. I was stunned. No more kissing. Richard wiped the silver thread at the corner of my lips with his fingertip. Baby, your brother is here. We'll kiss more when we get home. Me, what? Then why wasn't my brother scolding Richard yet? I quickly turned my head and indeed saw my brother. But it wasn't just him. There was also Penny and a familiar-looking woman. The three of them were facing off. I frowned, trying hard to recall who the remaining person was. Richard solved the mystery for me. He held my chin and rested his head on my shoulder. His warm breath swept across my neck, making it itchy. Baby, that's your brother's assistant. He gently bit my neck, pulling my attention back. TSK, he can't even handle these simple relationship problems. Oh right, that woman was my brother's assistant. I remembered now. I'd only met her once, 3 months ago. At first, she was full of hostility towards me. I complained to my brother. and he ruffled my head. Nina, this is my new assistant, she's new here and not familiar with the work yet. I'll ask her to apologize to you. My brother introduced me to her, and then her attitude changed completely. She kept calling me little sister this and that, being extremely attentive, but I didn't like her. She was so strange. I clung to the back of the chair and pricked up my ears. Nina, Richard started to speak in my ear. I covered his mouth. Shh, be quiet. He fell silent, and I peeked out with wide eyes. The assistant hid behind my brother, and Penny's face was full of disbelief. Tom, who do you believe, her or me? My brother rubbed his temples. Penny, don't be unreasonable. I've told you many times that she's just my assistant. Penny sneered. Yeah, just an assistant. An assistant who calls her boss at midnight saying she's scared because the light bulb at home is broken. An assistant who shares a room with her boss during a business trip. My brother looked calm. I've already explained, there was only one room left. That day, I couldn't just leave her outside. Penny, we were abroad. Penny twitched the corner of her mouth. I was abroad too when you flew back after getting her call. You two are different. She has never been abroad. You, Penny interrupted him, apologize to Nina for me. I won't have the milk tea she prepared. After saying that, she turned around and left me. I quickly got up to follow her, but my brother was even faster. He grabbed Penny's hand. Come back with me. How long are you going to keep acting up? My brother frowned, suppressing his anger. Penny couldn't take it anymore and exploded. You say I'm acting up. What about you? The other diners in the quiet restaurant all turned their eyes to Penny. The assistant followed my brother slowly. I saw her curl her lips, as if mocking Penny. My brother grabbed her. Have you had enough? Don't make a fool of yourself outside. A tear fell from the corner of her eye, hitting the ground and shattering. Tom, we broke up. My brother held her tightly in his arms without a care. I don't agree. I watched this farce in confusion. Penny was struggling. Brother. I quickly caught up and tugged at my brother's clothes. Sister's wrist is red. Don't pull her so hard. My brother was stunned for a moment, but still didn't let go of Penny. Nina, go out and play with Richard. This has nothing to do with you. How could it have nothing to do with me? I was the one who invited Penny out. I tried to pry his fingers open, but my brother wouldn't let go. In the next second, a fierce gust of fist wind swept through as Richard and my brother started fighting. I took the chance to pull Penny away back in the car. She hugged me tightly. Her burning tears fell on my shoulder. Nina, why did he turn out like this? Infected by her emotions, I felt sad too. I shook my head. I didn't know either. My brother had always been nice to me, in my eyes. He was also very good to Penny. Someone once said that family and lovers are different. When the two identities overlap, you can only see the former. I didn't understand what it meant before, but I suddenly got it today. I apologized in a low voice. I won't ask you out again. I'm sorry. I didn't know about you and my brother. Penny shook her head. It's not your fault, Nina. You don't need to apologize. Before seeing that secretary, I thought they had broken up out of the blue. Turns out it wasn't the case. There aren't that many sudden breakups. It's so strange. I know these things, so why doesn't my brother? I handed her a tissue to wipe her tears. Don't cry. Let's go buy a cup of milk tea. Milk tea with salted cheese foam is so delicious. Penny looked up, with tiny glimmers in her eyes. Why are you always thinking about milk tea? Because it's sweet. When you're in a bad mood, you should have something sweet. I dragged her to queue up and order again. The weather had gradually turned cold during this period. I took a sip of the iced slush, so cold. Penny took a sip too and choked, coughing until she had tears in her eyes. She said, Nina, I'm going abroad. It's so strange. It seems that many stories end with the woman leaving. Penny didn't take long to go abroad. She had been abroad before, so getting her passport and visa didn't take much time. On the day I sent her off, she took a red-eye flight. The airport in the Imperial City was still quite crowded even late at night. When the boarding announcement rang, I waved goodbye to her. She hugged me tightly. Nina, goodbye. I bit on my straw. Don't make it sound like we'll never see each other again. It's not like I can't go abroad to visit you. She was a bit sad at first, but then she smiled at my words. Yeah, come visit me when you're free. I blinked. Can't you come visit me? Penny poked my forehead. Whoever has time will go. That sounds fair. Richard dragged the luggage over. Penny took the luggage from Richard. Before getting on the plane, she looked at him again. Nina, her words stopped abruptly. I waved goodbye to her. I stared at her back. What did she want to say? I don't know. I took out a lollipop from my bag and asked Richard, do you want one? I want you to feed me. It's a lollipop. How can I feed you? I don't care. Then don't eat it. I unwrapped one for myself. It was grape-flavored, sour and sweet. I looked around for a trash can. Finally, I found one and just threw the trash in when I saw a man rush into the airport entrance. He looked around and ran towards me as if he'd seen a savior. Nina, where's Penny? I mumbled with the lollipop in my mouth. She's gone. Where did she go? I blurted out nonsense. Germany, I guess. She's going to study there for 3 years. I'll miss her so much. She said she'll come back after graduation. I believe we'll see her in 5 years. Brother, will you wait for her for 7 years? I was just talking randomly. She wasn't actually going to study. But I never expected that my random words would come true. Penny really decided to study in Germany while working. It was many years later that she finally returned to settle down in China. My brother's world seemed to collapse after hearing my words. He questioned me. Why didn't you stop her? I tilted my head. Why should I? My eyes swept over a dark patch on my brother's black shirt. The red lipstick stain was really hard to notice on the black fabric. When he got closer, there was a faint scent of jasmine in the air. But Penny was allergic to the smell of jasmine. Well, it doesn't matter anymore. She won't smell it again. I pulled my wrist out of my brother's hand. I said seriously, brother, I don't like your assistant. Don't marry her. Thinking that he might not listen to me, I added, I'll tell mom and dad. I'll be the mean sister-in-law. Mom and dad always listen to me. They would definitely oppose it with me. He was stunned. I'm not. She and I are not in that kind of relationship, I said. Oh. He quickly explained. Carlin is really just my assistant. I nodded. Yeah, Carlin is your assistant. My brother looked like he was about to cry or laugh. Why don't you even believe me? I pondered. Because you're just not trustworthy at all. Also, I really dislike her. I walked out of the terminal building and watched the new moon slowly rise outside the window. When Penny landed and walked out of the airport, would she see the same moon as me? I bit through the candy. It was sour and sweet. I liked it. The end.